This is the way that we bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. Igniting the fire within you. Exalting the melody of freedom. These are the things that will bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. So gather the faithful. Tell everyone to stand and shout loud. Shout loud. Shout loud. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Down, down, down.
Let me tell you, it's in the air. Joy is in the air. Love is in the air. Can you feel it? What it feel like? Freedom. What it feel like? Don't sleep on it, brother. You might get left, sister. Can you feel it? What it feel like? Freedom. What it feel like? Justice. No need to be counted, cause I am down. Down, down, down. Down, down, down. Down for the end of racism, for the end of bigotry, cause I am down. For the end of misogyny, that's right. For all the isms out there, just down, down, down. Let's bring it down. Rise up, people. No more foolishness, and let's bring it way down.
Riding the river of change into the cries of contrition. This is the way that we bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. We are the children of Eden, dancing and celebrating freedom. We are the ones that must bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. So gather the faithful. Tell everyone to stand and shout loud. Shout loud. Shout loud. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. We've got to bring it down. Down. Stand up and shout. Stand up and shout. Rise together.
Accountability starts now. The Eric Dawson Radio Show.
Yeah. Rise up. Stand up, shout it loud.
If you are not prepared to come to that table and to represent that voice, don't come. Because we don't need any more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice. We don't need black faces that don't want to be a black voice. We don't need Muslims that don't want to be a Muslim voice. We don't need queers that don't want to be a queer voice. And if you're worried about being marginalized and stereotyped, please don't even show up.
There's only one way to be independent. There's only one way to be free. It's not something that someone gives to you. It's something that you take. Nobody can give you independence. Nobody can give you freedom. Nobody can give you equality or justice or anything. If you're a man, you take it. If you can't take it, you don't deserve it. Nobody can give it to you. I'm for anybody who's for freedom. I'm for anybody who's for justice. I'm for anybody who's for equality. I'm not for anybody who tells me to sit around and wait for mine.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Eric Dawson Radio Show. Please hit the share button, visit our YouTube channel, hit the bell, subscribe, do all the things that you should be doing. I meant to bring my prop downstairs. I don't have it. I picked up my Girl Scout cookies yesterday. I'm owed some more. And anybody who has a young person who's in the Girl Scouts who's selling cookies, let me know. I have a sweet tooth and I have a soft heart, particularly for do-si-dos. So I picked up one box yesterday, traded in. I got these lemon, whatever they are, cookies, and I gotta tell you, I was disappointed in the lemon cookies. And then I got these toffee cookies that were gluten-free, and you know, I don't know what it is about gluten, but I need to have it in my stuff. I couldn't eat them. I tried to dip them in my coffee. It didn't work. So I threw those out. S'mores. I got the s'mores. S'mores are good. But my favorite are do-si-dos. So if you know anybody who's selling Girl Scout cookies, let me know. Not funny, but I think it was a good Girl Scout Girl Scout story. The other day I was in South Orange, down by the train station, and there were some young girls who were down there selling Girl Scout cookies, mainly white, a couple of Asian girls, and they were there with their moms. And I asked my sister to pull a car over, and I jumped out. I happened to have on my ADOS sweatshirt and my ADOS hat. And I go over to buy Girl Scout cookies, and as I'm buying them, and I'm interacting with the girls, and I've been down that road. I've got 3 daughters, and all of them have been Girl Scouts, and so I've done the whole selling Girl Scout cookie thing. Anyway, some of the moms were looking at the shirt and looking at the hat, and they were trying to figure it out. And so one got close enough, and they saw it, and she saw it, and she kind of went, And so I smiled at her. She smiled at me. And then the girls wanted to take a picture with me because I bought so many cookies. And so I hope, anyway, that they publish that picture somewhere, because I think that it is a beautiful photograph of all of these young Asian and Caucasian kids, and me with my ADOS hat on and my ADOS sweatshirt on. And I think that needs to be the symbol, right, of the future of this country, where there is an embracing of what American descendant of slavery really means, what it means to be foundational black, and that people don't find it to be radical, right? They don't find me to be angry. They just understand that this is who I am, and this is what I represent. This is, the sum total of my experience here in America. And that they embrace it, right? Not tolerate it, but embrace it. And that picture, because she showed it to me, she took it on her cell phone. It was an amazing picture. These kids didn't know anything. They just took a picture with me, and I didn't care. I took a picture with them. So anyway, I hope that becomes somewhere, well after I'm gone, that maybe that's in some time capsule somewhere, and it marks the time where this next generation of non-blacks embrace, in a truest sense, the cruelty that America has displayed toward foundational black Americans, and that they become a part of championing for reparations for us. Anyway, that was my story with my Girl Scout cookies. The coronavirus is here. And, there were a whole lot of you that had committed to come to my kickoff. I think we were up to somewhere over 80 or 85 people who were going to come. I'm not sure how we were all going to fit in DLV Lounge, but because I think he had a capacity, but we were going to try to fit everybody in there, and it was going to be amazing. We had ordered the balloons, and we had the signs, and we had all of those things. But the governor declared a state of emergency because of the coronavirus. There are more cases that have been reported here in New Jersey, certainly in New York. Governor Cuomo declared a state of emergency. The mayor of New York, de Blasio, is indicating that people should avoid taking crowded subway stations. So all of this is going on, and you guys know the background to my health. And so in consulting with my doctors and the fact that, I have a compromised immune system, it's not prudent for me to have a gathering with 75 or 85 people at this time. So I had to cancel the event. I'm sorry to have done so. We have to figure it out. Somebody made a suggestion. They said, Eric, you should do a virtual kickoff. I don't know. I'm not sure how that would go, but we'll see. We'll try to figure something out. But I'm not going to expose myself or anybody else to the possibility of coronavirus. Anyway, coronavirus. It is exposing a tremendous amount of information if you're paying attention about where we stand as a country. A tremendous amount. Firstly, from the White House and the House of Representatives, folks seem to be more concerned about politics. They seem to be more concerned about industry than they do about human beings in this country. In other countries, they have focused on human beings and they are taking necessary precautions. So you have in Italy now, they have shut down most of Italy because of, and I understand China is a totalitarian country, but they have shut down, and my understanding, somebody told me this morning that they actually have drones flying around, and if they catch people outside doing things they're not supposed to be doing or in areas that they're not supposed to be in, they arrest them. I'm not saying that we should go that far, but we need to have a government that is talking very honestly with us about what's going on, right? We said here on the show, and I think it was Vincent Squire who said 2-3 weeks ago or so, he said, it's here. And that was before any case was reported here. He said, it's here, Eric. And sure enough, it is here. But you had the president who came on and said, it's going to go away soon. At least we don't have any cases of death. And now scientists are saying it's going away soon. And we have 14 cases of death. People have died from it. And, we had a congressman, I forgot his name, who showed up at a hearing and he had a gas mask on to make light of the coronavirus, right? And now somebody within his district, one of his constituents, died. You see, and so now he has self-quarantined himself. So we have a government that is completely out of touch because, and I keep saying this to you, none of them, or very few of them, if any, I would almost dare say none of them, went there to represent you. And so now here they are having to represent you, and they don't know how, because that's not why they went. That's not why they went. They went there to represent the interests of corporations, and that's what they know how to do well. And so now they're being tasked with giving a damn about you. And you see that they're fumbling and bumbling along the way. How does it make you feel? Now, we talk about socialism. And I saw the Democrats, right? The establishment Democrats even beating up on Bernie Sanders about being a socialist or self-described Democratic socialist. And I kind of tried to explain to you guys that Dr. King declared himself a Democratic socialist as well. And so trying to separate those two is really difficult. But somehow the Democratic Party has figured out how to do that, how to support Dr. King and how to demonize Bernie Sanders or the continued movement of the Poor People's Campaign. But look at what's going on now. Look at the headlines. You got all of these major industries that are suffering, right? Not to mention the stock market is just in a nosedive. But beyond that, you have these industries that are suffering. And what do we hear? They're talking about bailouts. They're talking about socialism. They're talking about corporate socialism, though. They're saying, hey, look, we have industries that are suffering financially, and they need to be repaired. And government officials, those who decry socialism, are now trying to figure out ways to provide money to these industries that are failing because of the coronavirus. Meanwhile, you have human beings who don't have health care. And they say, well, how are we going to pay for it? How are we going to pay to give everybody health care? But they're not asking how we're going to pay to fund these industries. Just like we did the bailout during Obama's administration. That we bailed them out, and now we're going to bail them out again, but the American people never get a bailout. But the Democratic Party says to you that you should be okay with that. That you should be okay with the fact that right now, if you don't have health care, trying to figure out how to get to someplace, I don't even know if there are tests, right? You had President Trump say that there were tests or tests were coming. Then you had Vice President Pence say there were no tests, but they were coming. So I'm not sure whether we have tests or whether we don't. But if we did, and you don't have health insurance, where are you going? And so, inasmuch, and I continue to say this, inasmuch as you don't want to participate in government elections, there are things, there are policies that impact you, that require you, I guess, if you cared, and not just about yourself, but about your loved ones, about your children, about your parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, that you get involved. Because not to get involved means that these policies will continue to ignore you. And so all of these people now, millions, are uninsured. And trust me, and this is what I believe. I believe the reason we have not done extensive testing, and that I think that they've held back on tests intentionally, because once they begin to test, broadly test, we're going to determine through the tests that more people have the virus. See, so by not testing, they can keep it obscured, right? But once they test, then they're going to have to report these numbers, and the numbers are going to go through the roof. That is my prediction. Hello, Diane.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. Hey, did my other do-si-dos come in yet? Did you talk to that girl?
I did.
Yeah, you grabbed that Girl Scout by the collar.
she got him, but I gotta connect with her.
Yo, come on now. I'm
want to see her Sunday at church. So
what? I gotta wait till.
Do you need them before that? I can make it happen. Do you need them before that?
Diane, I ate the one sleeve while I was in the office with you. Then the other sleeve of my do-si-dos, I ate half of them on my way home. And then I had like 4 left. And then I'm like, okay, now I got to ration them until I get my next supply. So I got 4.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what you have to do. Those things are addictive.
They are.
If anybody needs Girl Scout cookie orders, by all means, give me a call in the office, 908-686-4609, and I'll hook you up with the Girl Scout troop leaders so you could get those cookies, get that addiction on.
Hey, listen, Diane, I'm telling you, I'm fiending for my Do-si-dos.
Man, they're good.
Yeah.
Those cookies are good.
They are
I
good.
don't know what they put in them. I don't know if they put, what was that stuff they used to put in the Chinese food that they said they had to stop putting in because it would make you want to eat it more and more? What was it, GMO or something like that?
MSG. Is it MSG or?
MSG, yeah. MSG. They must be putting MSG in these cookies because these things are addictive.
Listen,
Addictive.
look, but what were the ones? The toffee, whatever the toffee ones?
Oh, you talking about the caramel cookie ones, the ones that I have?
No. Those are the Samoas.
Yeah, the Samoas.
No. I like the Samoas, the caramel with the coconut and the little drizzle of chocolate. Yeah. I used to be a Samoa fan, and then I flipped over to Do-si-dos, and I can't go back now. I feel like I'd be cheating. But they have they have these new ones though. They're like it's almost like a tea biscuit. It's that hard. It's but it's a something toffee.
No, I stick to the traditional stuff. I don't like the new flavors, and I wish they'd stop coming out with new flavors. I like to just continue to have the Thin Mints, the Trifles, the plain shortbreads, and the Samoas.
Oh, the shortbreads are, you know what? The shortbreads are elegant, aren't they?
Yes,
like they're very simple. You could have them with a cup of tea, a hot cup of coffee. You could have them with a glass of chocolate milk. I mean, so they're versatile. You can have them with any. Oh, you can have them with nothing.
You can have it with a blunt. You can have it with anything.
Hey. But yes. I'm sure there are people out there tripping and eating Girl Scout cookies.
Well, a couple of years ago, the Montclair location where they have the where you can get the medicinal cannabis, they had a Girl Scout girl that was out there and sold out.
Wow.
Girl Scout cookies, just standing outside selling the cookies. It's a hot spot. I'm telling you, go right there. You sell those cookies, even if you're not next door across the street, you're going to make money. You're going to sell out.
That is funny. So, Diane, this coronavirus. Well, firstly, you heard that I canceled my my kickoff.
Well, let me tell you how I heard. Because I got a phone call after midnight that woke me up from somebody out in Colorado that told me that it was canceled. And I said to them, okay, that's great. But in my head, I'm still waking up like, why did you have to call and tell me this at this time of night? So I did find out early this morning.
I'm trying to fix my hat. Diane, I can't fix my hat. Okay, there it is. I think that's straight. I had it all cockeyed, like sideways.
You're fine. So,
right.
Yeah, I did hear that it was canceled.
Wait a minute, somebody from Colorado called you?
Colorado.
Wow,
yes.
Look at that.
Yeah.
All right.
So I am glad that you pulled back and canceled it for now, for many different reasons, but especially because, when you have a low immune system, being around so many people, you could be susceptible to getting anything. It's the same as just getting the flu or the common cold or something like that. So you have to be careful. I've told my, as an insurance agent, with my hat on as an insurance agent, I've told my clients that they need to be wiping down door handles, wiping down shared telephone handles and stuff like that, and spraying Lysol throughout because it can literally stay on surfaces for 48 hours. So we have to be mindful and careful, even with the traditional cold and flu. This is just another strand of it, but a little bit more deadly for some people.
Well, so my thing is, and so some people asked, they said, oh, are you okay, Eric? So just to let you guys know, when I had my my surgery and they removed my stomach, I still can't believe that I don't have a stomach. But anyway, when they do, I don't have a stomach for a lot of things. I don't have a stomach for nonsense. Anyway, when they removed it, they also removed my spleen, and the spleen is vital, right, in terms of your immune system. And so I have a compromised immune system as a result. And so staying away from that large crowd of people, especially given the fact that the governor declared a state of emergency, right, which means that we got something going on here, would be prudent for me to do. So I'm going to miss you all. And Diane, the person who was catering, she was making these little empanadas, right?
Oh, I love
I
empanadas.
know, Diane. She used to make these like little like chicken and veggie and beef empanadas and what do you call the vegetable platter or the crudita or whatever it's called?
So you know what I learned when I was in Spain?
What?
Empanadas is not a Spanish thing; it's a Mexican thing. So we went to one place that had empanadas, and nowhere else had it. And then it dawned on me, this is not a Spanish dish. This is a Mexican dish for Spanish-speaking people. Because I love empanadas.
Well, you know what? There's a one of my clients makes really good empanadas, and you guys know that I am huge on supporting Black-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, small businesses. There's a place called it's called the Domini Restaurant. It's a Dominican restaurant in East Orange on Central Avenue. It's right next to the KFC. They make fantastic empanadas. Fantastic, Diane.
Well, I have to try them, but I'm not making an extra trip. Just
No,
to get
I'm just saying if you're ever in
I'm in the area. I definitely will try them
if you're
out.
ever in the area, they make fantastic empanadas.
You know, Taco Bell makes dessert empanadas.
You know what, Diane? You know, my brother's a huge Taco Bell fan.
Oh,
I can't do Taco Bell. I used to, but not anymore. But he's a huge Taco Bell fan. Now, I want to give you two more restaurants, and one I gave you, and you went to it and had a delicious time. Right? Was Sunsplash, which is in Orange, right on Main Street. It's right next to, or right up the street from the Wendy's, I think it is. Listen, guys, their stewed chicken is amazing. Everything there is amazing, but their stewed chicken is fantastic. Now, the last place I'll give you is the Barbecue Pit in Orange, right across the street from Orange Park. It's like a little hole-in-the-wall place, Diane, but they've been there for like 29 years, the lady told me. I go there to get my peas and rice, right? Literally, I just get like a side order of peas and rice that I, and then, I make the rest of my dinner at home, but then that'll be a side that I have, and then I have a salad or something. And you get a big side of it for $4. So those are my I may do that from time to time, tell you guys where I go eat and make recommendations and see what you guys think about it. But those are three places that I'm sure you will not be disappointed.
yeah,
And of course, Mama's, Diane. I haven't been to Mama's. I haven't shown Mama's love in a long time.
Oh, yeah, that's good eating, too.
That's heavy eating, though.
Oh, good eating, yeah. It depends on, basically what you get, you can eat it in 2 sittings. You can eat it for lunch and then for dinner. My problem is it tastes so good that I try to eat it all in one sitting and have like a little tiny piece of something left for dinner. But it's good. It's definitely good.
I may ask it. Oh, one more place, guys. On Springfield Avenue in Maplewood. They've been there 9 months. Go check them out. It's called Freetown. Freetown. It is amazing. Their food is absolutely amazing. I had a falafel there the other day. But the ambiance is great. Black owned, right? Go support them. Along with the other places that you guys know. But if you're looking to eat out, I'd say stay away from the big franchise places. They make enough money. Support the local businesses. Help them survive.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Definitely support local.
Absolutely. So anyway, what about this coronavirus?
Wash your hands. Use hand sanitizer. Use Lysol wipes. Wipe down the telephones. If you work in a business office, stay at least 6 feet away from people when you're talking to them. Don't be extra close inside their bubble talking to them. Because what they have also said is, when you sneeze and cough or speak, you spew out germs that can travel and land on people. They say keep your hands off your face, don't rub your face and your eyes and stuff like that. But I think when you say that, people do it more than they would normally not do it.
Right.
So that's a little hard, but always hand sanitize. wash your hands. And I think you can sing the birthday song. There's like a couple of different songs you can sing while you're washing your hands.
I did that yesterday in your office, didn't I?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. But there's other songs. I mean, I'm sure you could sing it to a Beyonce song or, Luther Vandross song, whatever.
Whatever.
Get through that 1 minute period so that you can thoroughly wash your hands. But yeah, I would say be careful and also stay out of places where there are a large amount of people. Like if you don't have to go to conferences and stuff and conventions, don't go, because a lot of places are canceling. A lot of events are canceling. A lot of events that were at the Jacob Javits Center that's supposed to happen this week, they have canceled them. A lot of events, I know there were some hair shows and stuff that are going on in April down in the Atlanta, D.C. area. They are potentially getting ready to cancel that stuff because they don't know how far it's actually going to travel, and it seems like it's getting like everywhere. Did you see the video I sent you earlier this morning about the kids at Treadwell School in where is it? Memphis, Tennessee, I believe it was.
Right.
And one of the employees was sick, and the parents were literally like wiping down the kids outside on the sidewalk when they came out of the school and spraying them with Lysol. I mean, it's crazy. But people are frantic, and people are concerned. So they should be concerned normally anytime to wash their hands, but more so now. Especially between this transition, this weather change, and people traveling. The people out on the cruise ship, they still out there circling around the ocean because they won't let them dock. Which is worse because on a cruise ship, if you've ever been on a cruise ship, it's more of an incubator to get stuff. Because depending on where your room is, you could be below deck where there are port windows where you can see out of, but you can't open them up. So everybody's breathing that same circulated air that's coming through the system. So that's a problem too. So, however, I did check online, and this is the perfect time to get airfare if you want to go somewhere. I even checked out airfare to Greece for a family of 4 with hotel and air included. A straight-through flight to Greece during the week of Christmas for $5,000.
Oh.
Hotel and air included. I was like, wow, this is good. But yeah, so maybe if you want to purchase something, a trip for later on in the year, and you can still get the trip cancellation to add to it as well. This may be a good time to do that. Also, I also know that the stocks are dropping, so they always say buy low, sell high. So this is the opportunity, if you have some extra cash on the side, to start, doing some research on some of these companies. Definitely not in the airline transportation company because, not definitely in the airline transportation company, trains and stuff like that. Even though they're canceling and the stocks are dropping, you buy low, save it until they go back up because it's not going to stay like this forever. It's going to turn around. And also the rates on refinancing your home, the rates are dropping. So this is a good opportunity and a time to refinance if you're able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So there are some advantages to the sickness and the coronavirus that's going on.
Well, those are some of the advantages. But unfortunately, I always talk about this, which is why I have my hat on. When you look at black folks, they're not going to be able to take advantage of those advantages because there's less money in the black community, there's less opportunity in the black community. But what they will suffer from during this whole thing, Diane, is when you have folks who have jobs, and I was listening to this, and they don't have sick leave, right? They don't have sick leave. And they feel sick, but they can't take off because if they take off, they won't get paid, right?
That's right.
So what winds up happening is they go to work, right? And if they do have the coronavirus, they spread it, right? And then they spread it amongst other people who can't afford to take off because they have no sick leave. And when those people get sick and have to be off, then they have no income. And we already talked about people not being able to withstand a $400 cash emergency. So imagine people missing 1 or 2 paychecks because they're sick. that's going to be a problem. It's going to be a massive problem, Diane. Because I'm telling you, this thing has not gone away. And then I was also listening, we talked about this yesterday on the show. You have schools that are closing. And again, you know, when we talk about how that impacts poorer communities, and we had Sudan Thomas on, former president from the Board of Education in Jersey City, we were talking about the number of students in those poorer communities who don't have access to the internet, who don't have technology, meaning computers or smartphones or anything at home. And so if they're, quarantined, self-quarantined, so they're not going to school, they're missing out on homework assignments. They're missing out on classwork assignments.
Well, what they're saying is, I spoke to some teachers, some administrators. What they're doing is they're starting to prepare to put homework packets together for at least a minimum of 2 weeks, a max of 30 days, so kids can work with them, work with it at home as if they were the same thing they would do over the summer, have a summer packet. So that they are doing. Now, the only thing is now you got all these kids at home. Who's going to be home with these kids?
Well, right. And that's exactly what I was going to say. So now, we have to understand the underlying condition that exists in our community, right? So when stuff like this happens, well, okay, the parent's not going to be home. The parent's at work. Most parents in urban districts, Diane, they look forward to school time, right? And they dread the summertime because during the summertime, they don't know what to do with the kids because they got to go to work. And they can't afford daycare, they can't afford summer camp programs, those kinds of things. So they literally look forward to school. Now, for these kids to be home from school, these parents got to go to work. So who's going to do the homework assignment or classwork assignment with these kids? Who's going to be home with them? Now, I'm not saying that they shouldn't be home. I'm simply saying that when these things, because we never think about them, right, until they occur. But once these things occur, now we look and say, well, wow, you know what? Here's an instance where folks say, hey, it's rugged individualism. Pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. Get it done. But there are no resources, and the resources have never been there. But now the emperor has no clothes. And now they'll be belly aching and complaining about it. But when we have these conversations about ensuring that things are in place, like the ability to have sick leave, so that a parent can take off during time like this and be paid and cover their expenses and take care of their children. See, that's how all these policy things can work. But that doesn't exist. So these parents who don't have sick leave, who didn't fight for it, who are not supporting candidates who are fighting for those kinds of things, they're going to have to tough it out now.
Yeah, they're going to have to figure it out. They're going to have to start working together. Other parents are going to have to start, I don't know, babysitting for the others, or I don't know. It's going to be a mess. It really is going to be a mess, especially for the younger kids. You're talking about the little kids that can't stay at home by themselves, 10 and under, or probably 12 and under. I don't know what the legal age is, but 10 and under at least. That you don't want them staying home by themselves, because that's another danger that you have to be aware of as well by them staying home. So, yeah.
So, for all of the talk about social services or being a socialistic, socialism or democratic socialism, here's where the rubber meets the road. And here's where democratic socialism could be helpful, and often is, right? But there are a lot of programs that we see gaps in them now, and my hope is that government works together for once for the people. Anyway, Diane, we got a debate, not a debate. We have today is like a mini Super Tuesday. There are a lot of states that are voting today, and Bernie Sanders took I guess you could say he took a beating on Super Tuesday, right? But in as much as he took a beating, and I have to continue to remind myself of this too, in terms of the delegate count, because it hasn't completely come in from California yet, he may be ahead in delegates or very close behind Joe Biden. So this idea that there's this massive gap between he and Joe Biden just isn't true, even though the media is portraying it like that. So for all intents and purposes, if Bernie Sanders has the lead in delegates, he is still the front runner, though the media has widely proclaimed that Joe Biden is the front runner. But going into these states, in particular into Michigan today, is going to be critical, I think, to see where this election is going to be going.
Yeah, absolutely. But I also think that even with the media and what they're talking about, this spread between this close race between the two, the race is still in the hands of the people. So they have an opportunity to go out and vote and decide who they want to represent them. Either person is really not the best person for Black Americans, but they are the choices that are in front of us as of now.
Well, I just looked at my cup, and I'm sorry. Like, I'm easily distracted today, Diane. I don't know if you can see my mug, but I got this new mug. Well, Mina got it for me. But if I drink it with my right hand, I get to see the letter that's on it. I have to drink it with my left hand, so you guys can all see that it's personalized. But I'm not left-handed. But see, if I drink it with my left hand, you'll see the E on it. So I'll drink it with my left hand so you guys can see the E. Anyway. I'm sorry. It's just that kind of day for me. So you say it's in the hands of the people. And theoretically it is. But what has been happening is through this social engineering that occurs and through this propaganda spewing that occurs, they are suppressing the vote among young people, and they're encouraging the vote among older people by the content that they put out on their news channels. And so, in theory, it's in the hands of the people. But that presumes that the people, that their minds are free. And I'm saying that the majority of them are enslaved by the content that they hear and they receive on these various networks. And so it's going to be very interesting now. And you know what else is going to be interesting, Diane? Because right now they're suppressing the vote. Well, there are two things I want to say. They're suppressing the vote, but then in a general election, they're going to want to get the vote out. So the very vote that they're suppressing right now, they're going to want to then try to encourage them to come out and vote. And there lies one of the issues with the Democratic Party, that you can't do that. Like, you can't beat down an entire group of people within the Democratic Party and then expect them to come out and vote when, in the general election. So you beat them down, you call them stupid, you call them Bernie bots, you call them whatever you want to call them, and then you want them to come out and vote for you in November in the general election. That's going to be difficult.
That's what they do all the time. It's not going to be difficult, and people will fall in line.
I don't think so this time. I honestly believe, Diane, that if Bernie Sanders is not the nominee, I really believe that Donald Trump is going to win. I think you're going to have a low voter turnout.
I think either way, Donald Trump is going to win. If Biden is the chosen person, he's going to win. If Sanders is the chosen person, he's going to win, because Sanders still has not received support from many of those that were candidates who have now fallen off the stage. And they won't throw their support behind either. They're waiting to see how this rolls out, because they too, like many people who've thrown their support behind Biden, are just vying for this vice president seat now. So their concern is not the concern of the people. Their concern is their own immediate concern of their selfishness to get ahead. So Sanders' people are just going to be his supporters, the same supporters he had before when he ran the first time, now this time, and he'll have additional people, some, but he's not going to have that big push. And I don't see them coming out the way he did when he was running against Hillary and said, I'm formally supporting her and I want my people to come over here. They're not going to do that.
So do you? So do you just say that Donald Trump is just going to be the president?
He's going to win. He's going to win by default, because the Democratic Party is not going to come together to support. When you already see in the various states and the county level where they're talking about they want to eliminate the line voting, and they don't want to do the normal things that they have considered to be normal in voting down the line, you see already that they're already gearing up to push people away from Bernie Sanders, and they are not going to be supporting anyone from the top of the ticket, because they are selfish. They are not the supporters of the Democratic Party as an individual. They are supporters of the Democratic Party for themselves. So Bernie Sanders can win, and he can get the candidate nod, but he's not going to get the support behind the DNC. They're not going to give it to him.
So
they're too arrogant to do it. They won't do it.
What do you think it says to the voter, right? So we went through these various debates, right, where voters contributed money, whether it was Cory Booker asking people to chip in. Let's see if this is a caller. I'm not sure if this is a caller or if this is personal to me. Hold on. Hello, caller?
Hello, this is HFI. We work.
Okay, I don't know who HSI is, but this is so let's during the debates you had voters contributing small amounts to these individual campaigns, right? So you saw on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, Cory or Kamala or Buttigieg or whoever else saying chip in so that they can make it to the next debate stage. And then we all gathered around our televisions with our popcorn or potato chips and dip or whatever and watched these debates like they were sporting events. And we were looking forward to the jabs and to the punches and the body shots from one candidate to another one, right? And then we watched the pundits the next day or the same night, declare who the winner was based on the number of, blows that were dealt. And we watched them dismantle each other based on policy and personal views. And then we see them all come together now. And then, I have to wonder, how much of it is just theater, Diane? So you had Cory Booker, who made a big deal out of Joe Biden using the word boy, right? Remember that? And he talked about how that made him feel as a black man using the word boy. Then he talked about his dealings with segregationists. Then Kamala Harris talked about Biden and his views on busing. Then they talked about Biden being the grandfather of the crime bill. So they laid all of this out as to why black folks should reserve voting for Joe Biden. And now both of them say that Joe Biden is the best thing for black people. Is there any wonder, Diane, why folks are jaded when it comes to politics? So do we believe the Cory Booker who was on the debate stage? Or do we believe the Cory Booker now? Do we believe the Kamala Harris who was on the debate stage? Or do we believe the Kamala Harris now?
You should believe, what they say and what they have shown you to do. It's as simple as that. Kamala Harris spoke and said out of her own mouth that she was not doing anything specifically to help black people. Cory Booker simply has used eloquent words to talk about many different subjects, but to give no information. So if you have watched them, you should not be supporting anybody that they are supporting. And if you do support that person, you should be looking at the two of them sideways as to why the person you're supporting, being Biden, would even come through and accept their support and their supporters to come over to his side. So it's important to see and to watch who the people are actually, the flim-flam people. They're going from one side to the next side, and they're using keywords and as people follow them and watch. They are trying to get the Black American vote. That is the biggest vote. They need that vote. The same reason Donald Trump won when he said in his speech, why not vote for me? What do you have to lose? You have gotten nothing before. Why not vote for me? And many Black people voted for him just because of that. And they said, you know what? He's right. We didn't get anything from the other Democratic presidents. We didn't get anything from the Bush, the Clintons, Obama, or name of the Reagans, any of them, both Democrat and Republican. So why not vote for him? How bad could it be? He looks like he has some common sense. He's on TV, and that's how it happened. So I wouldn't put any strength behind supporting anybody that Kamala Harris or Cory Booker supported. In fact, I would look the other way just because.
Well, you said something very interesting when you said that she didn't have a plan for Black people. And I think that includes her support for Joe Biden. That's not about Black people. Right? So if you take her at her word, right, that, nothing specifically for Black people, that includes who she decides to endorse. That her endorsement of them. And so, you understand what I'm getting at, Diane? So in her mind, her endorsement isn't about Black people. It's about whatever Kamala Harris believes that she can personally get out of it. But the use of her and her endorsement in order to entice Black people to vote for him because they see a Black woman standing on stage with him is him using her. But yes, I agree with you that she doesn't have any intention to do anything. None of her actions are to benefit Black people. And she's proven that through being a prosecutor and how she tormented Black people in California, and how she's now embracing the guy who she said was palling around with segregationists and had these very discriminatory views toward busing.
Yeah, and said that he's the reason for busing, and I was a victim of your busing bill or act that you signed off on. So how do you go from you have humiliated me as a child? I've held on to this all these years. I've been the state prosecutor. I've also convicted tons of Black people for what do they call it? For not going to school and not even going after the kids, going after the parents to jail them as well. And then you turn around as the same adult and say, oh, I'm going to support Biden. But a couple of months back, you were on the stage saying this man, pointing at him, this man, and you're the reason why so many little girls and little boys had to be bused. Like, come on now. People have to see through that and understand that they are up there making deals. And this has nothing to do with the welfare of your life. Just simply they're making deals for themselves.
Yeah. So I agree. I think at this point, my support still goes behind Bernie Sanders. But I agree with you, Diane. But we talked about it on the show for many months that the Democratic Party was going to implode and that Donald Trump was going to be reelected. So in as much as, I still intend to support Bernie Sanders, I think that, if Bernie Sanders wins, the Democratic Party is going to do everything it can to not be supportive of him and either tacitly or directly support Donald Trump, make sure that he's there for another 4 years, and or they'll torpedo Bernie early and Joe Biden will win the nomination. And I think that the progressive wing won't be enthusiastic about coming out and voting for Joe Biden, and so Donald Trump is going to win. So I think at this point, listen, I listened to Hillary Clinton. And the way that she just continues to tear down the progressive wing of the party. And I just find it very difficult to believe that there could be any coalescing around any candidate. Then I heard her also say, well, Joe Biden is bringing together the coalition that I brought together. But the coalition that she brought together couldn't win the election. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if Joe Biden is doing or repeating what you did, then it's going to end in the same result. So, this is probably one of the first times where, well, that's not true. I was disenchanted last election, and I knew that Donald Trump was going to win, and so I think that I'm at that point now where I think that Donald Trump is just going to win, and so the focus for me is really on down ballot. It really is. It's on, you know, who are going to be the senators, who are going to be the congressmen and women, you know, and then looking at the local level, mayors, council people, folks like that.
Absolutely, and that should be everybody's point of reference and where they should be looking at. For one, when they're talking about, specifically when we go back to talk about the coronavirus, there are some things that come down from the federal level. However, the state should be stepping in with the Department of Health and saying this is how the state is going to be directing questions. This is how we're going to handle this situation and issues. So people on the city, municipal, town level, and the counties are not confused and doing things arbitrarily separate from what the state should be doing. We should be all moving accordingly together. It's individual towns and cities throughout the state that are making their own calls with their own Board of Health and saying this is what we're going to do. And some of them aren't even consulting with their Board of Health and deciding this is what we're going to do. We're going to shut down schools, because they're talking about Elizabeth being shut down. Cranford put out a notice that as of Monday they're going to be shut down for a couple of weeks. So
wait. The entire school system in Cranford?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it was in the newspaper yesterday. Fort Lee is talking about there are Jewish schools in Fort Lee that are closed now. They are closed because they had an infected person up there that was actually at an event at one of the schools. They have shut down the schools. So people are not moving together. They're individually, and this is where the panic comes from. And this is why people need to pay attention to the elections, because your congressperson should be speaking out. Your state senator should be speaking out. Your mayor should be speaking out to say what's going on. In the township of Hillside, we don't even have a website up. The website is down. So people can't even get information through the website, the town website, because the website is down because the mayor is fighting with has fired the last web developer, and the web developer owned the website. Now, where do they do that at? Like, where does that happen at? That the arbitrarily some random person owns the township website. So when you get mad at them, they shut everything down. So now you have no way to disseminate information out to the township. So there is a problem on many levels, and people should be paying attention to the downside of the ballot. Your elected people being your council people, your freeholders, your mayors, whoever's up for election this November and this May and June, school board members, you need to pay attention, because even with the school board coming up, they make decisions on the school board as to whether the schools are open and closed. And if they are not working in conjunction with the Board of Health, they are just arbitrarily making decisions based off of feelings and not facts. And that's important.
Yeah. I think I just missed a caller. Caller, please call back. So I'm going to respond. Cesare and Afid said that the statement we made about Kamala Harris not having an agenda specifically for black people was not a true statement. Well, I'm just going to, I wish I had the clip at the ready. But when Kamala Harris was asked if she had a specific plan for black people, her response was, for black people? No. That was her response. So I'm not saying that she did not have agenda items which may have helped black folks along with helping other folks. But there was a very specific question asked to Kamala Harris about whether or not she had specific agenda for black people, and her answer out of her mouth was no, she didn't.
Right.
So,
she said no. I
and then she had that cackle, whatever that laugh was she had. Maybe if we take a break, we take a commercial break, I'll try to find it and then I'll play it so you can see it. Hello, caller, go.
Hey, good morning, Eric. Good morning, Diane. as far as I just want to say, talking about this corona stuff, man, like, we've been hearing about it for about maybe a month or so now, and finally, it's hitting home, and the realities of how we need to change, and like how you said earlier, Eric, like, it's exposing, not only our government, but just how we live, and some changes that, like, today, I had to go and I went and I bought 10 gallons of bleach, right? Just so that I would have a stockpile of it, so that as I create a different kind of protocol for how I clean or sanitize after each of my clients. It's almost like a science fiction movie or something right now. Like, we're looking at of quarantining ourselves, right? It's stay in the house if you get a cough or you feel a certain way until somebody can come and properly test you. I'm disappointed. Our government, we had this debate yesterday, and I'm highly disappointed in the fact that the government hasn't taken a greater and faster lead in this. Right? And I do commend the school systems that are closed. My daughter's college just closed, right, yesterday. So they told them they all got to sort of be out of there, and they're going to do online. So everybody has to go home now, right? Which is like, shoot, we pay for housing, and now we got to go home, right? But they got to go up there and get her and bring her back. But this is, the reality is, if they don't figure out a way to control this, everything is going to be at home. You won't be able to come outside anymore, right? It's that dangerous, and our government needs to. Now, we should be fighting that. For instance, I don't hear them saying that they're not closing voting polls today, right? Are they? How come? Like you said, Diane. Speaking of the Javits Center, last weekend the Javits Center closed for one of its biggest hair shows. Right, or hair expos, beauty expos, I guess you would call it. It canceled it. Right, thousands of people come to it, and they canceled it yesterday or Sunday. It's ridiculous to think that our government is not taking a more proactive lead in keeping the spread of this. It's all throughout the country in multiple states at this point. We're just, waiting to see how fast it grows. And like Eric said, if testing was done properly, like to everybody, there's no telling how many more cases would go. And I don't know, it aggravates me that we live in a country which is supposed to be, the leader of the world, but we're always behind on the most important human issues.
Right, because listen. In as much as this government would like to have you believe that people are at the center of their decision making, that is not the case. And it's evident now.
Absolutely.
It's evident now. We're not at the center of it. And when we say on this show, you don't have a government. See, corporate America has a government. Right? They have a government. The government works for them.
Hey, Eric, it's funny to say that, right? Because this was one thing yesterday. When the stock market dropped 7%, there was a halt in trading, right? It had to stop, right? It triggers something automatically. They shut down. Nobody can sell or buy stock. You get a 35% increase in the city of New York's cases of the coronavirus, and nothing changes. So it's more, they're more sensitive to losing a dollar than they are losing people.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, understand what's happening now. So even the conversation that the president is having and creating this maximum sophisticated confusion, right? So he goes out and says, go to work, things will be normal, I'm going to go play golf, I'm going to hang out. Meanwhile, you've got folks, who are members of the House of Representatives, as well as senators now, who are self-quarantining themselves because they were at CPAC and they came in contact with some people who, found out that they have the coronavirus. So Donald Trump understands very clearly that it is his job to stay calm, right, and to downplay it because of how the market is going to react. Meanwhile, the truth, which should prevail so that people can understand how their safety is in jeopardy, takes a back seat to it all. And there lies the problem. And so, like I said earlier, when they say we don't have enough tests, I believe they could have gotten the tests, and I believe that more people could have been tested earlier. But to do that, I think would have led to widespread paranoia, widespread panic, and I think that the stock market, they would not have been able to control it. It would have just crashed.
That's the thing. They can control it. They stop trading. When it hits a marker, it stops trading at 7%. Then it pauses. Then it will start up again. If it goes to 13%, it drops. It pauses again. If it is 20, no trading. So no, they have a protection for that. They're not going to lose their money ever again in the stock market in the way they have in the past. So again, it's like they care more about losing a dollar than a person. It doesn't matter if 100% of the country came up with coronavirus today, they probably wouldn't lock the country down. It's probably what it would take to lock the country down. But stock market, lose 7%, and we're going to pause this. We're going to stop. We're going to control the bleeding. We're going to control the hurting. This country is just out of whack. But before I get off, I just want to say, Bernie Sanders doesn't have a plan for black people either.
Oh no, I'm not suggesting he does. But what I am saying is this.
But you're suggesting to vote for him.
No. So no.
But under the same qualifications, he doesn't have it.
No. Understand what I'm saying to you, and I continue to say this. So you have a white guy who stands up. He doesn't say, "I'm a black person who doesn't have a black voice for you, but I'm going to try to pretend that I do." Right? He's a white guy, 78-year-old white guy from Vermont. You had Kamala Harris and you had Cory Booker cloak themselves in blackness in hopes of garnering the black vote, and didn't have a plan for black people. That's my conversation about those two.
That's how you argue. That I can't argue.
Right.
But again, if that's the case, what are Jews saying about Bernie Sanders? Does he have a plan for Jews, or is he just keeping status quo?
No, he doesn't. Well, again, what I believe he has, and the only reason that I keep trying to, I try to frame it like this. I am in support of the Poor People's Campaign, the one that Dr. King fought for, the one he was ultimately murdered for. And so I see in this movement the continuation of the Poor People's Campaign. That's why I'm in support of it. So it's not about Bernie. Bernie Sanders happens to be at the top of the ticket. He happens to be the vessel through which this movement is operating right now. But it goes long beyond Bernie Sanders. It goes to a group of people, millions of people, as a matter of fact, who have decided that they've had enough. That the system that you and I are talking about right now, that doesn't have people at the center of it, isn't one that works for us. That when, as Dr. King said, when you live in the richest country in the world, right, and you have 40 million poor people, he says something's wrong. Something's wrong. We have to fix this. And the only campaign that I see that's addressing at least a part of what Dr. King was talking about is this particular campaign. So it's not an affection that I have toward Bernie Sanders. It's an affection that I have towards all of these people who are suffering because this system, this government, doesn't have people at the center of it. And am I disdain?
I respect your position, but again, I guess for me, I just say, I don't really even know. It's like it's again something that I've hated doing because I think I've always had to do it. Is I've voted for the lesser of two evils, right? It seems like any time I vote, I've never voted for someone I was happy to vote for. I voted for someone, even when I voted for Barack Obama twice. Right? I wasn't voting for Barack Obama because I thought he was going to make a change. I was voting for Barack Obama because he was the lesser of two evils. He was a black guy, for one, and I just thought that out of all the candidates that were available at the time, that he was the guy that was the best for my interest, and I hated that. I want to vote for someone that I believe is going to do the change. And again, I think voting for Sanders is like voting for a lesser two. I don't see a change. I hear what you're saying, but I don't see a change from Bernie Sanders. I see more of the same.
Well, let me ask you, but I want to ask you, and again, I'm not trying to, look, at this point, I'm beyond trying to, I'm just trying to get a sense of what other people are feeling. I've made clear what my position is, and folks are going to have to, at this point, make decisions for themselves. But when I look at it, I'm excited to see a person like AOC in the House of Representatives. I'm excited to see a person like Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, and Ayanna Pressley there. I'm excited to see people like Jason up in Union. I'm excited to see the young progressives in Jersey City. And all of those people that I just mentioned were supported by Justice Democrats or Our Revolution, which are organizations that were put together in part or in whole by Bernie Sanders. And so I, when I look at a government which does not embrace young people, and we can even see that now, right? When you hear the pundits talk about young people, it's with disdain that they talk about them, right? They don't try to encourage them to be a part of the process. They discourage them and tell them to go sit down. And so when I see a movement that isn't, take him out of it, for me, I take him out of it. I say there's a movement where I look at the eyes of young people and they're encouraged that, hey, listen, I have a voice. I'm encouraged to speak out and not ask permission, to be a part of a democracy. For me, that kind of movement is important for our democracy. So it's not about this one man. It's about these millions of people, who are engaged because they believe they matter. And we have two parties, the Democrat and the Republican Party, that do their life's work convincing young people that they don't matter. And so when I walk down the street, even in Newark or in other urban communities, and these young people say, what does it matter? Well, that didn't just happen. It was intentionally done by these party elites. And so for me, it is a movement that is required in order to bring about change. It's a transformative change. There has to be a movement. And right now, what we have are political elites, and that's why I said, and I believe this, if Biden becomes at this point I believe both, because I think if Bernie Sanders becomes the nominee, then the establishment is going to just tear the whole thing down and allow Donald Trump to win. But if Biden becomes the nominee, there just is no enthusiasm. I mean, look, here's the other thing. And I honestly mean this. I'm not saying this to be flippant. I don't think that Biden is all there. I think that there's something. No. I think that there's some. No, seriously. I think, and you know what's scary to me? Think about it. When Donald, and I don't think Donald Trump is all there either. But remember when Donald Trump was running, how the liberal media had no bones. It made no bones about talking about the mental capacity of Donald Trump. But what they do with Joe Biden is they say, oh, it's a gaffe. Oh, it's a gaffe. And I'm saying, no, these are not gaffes now. When he was on the stage and he confused his wife for his sister, that was not a
exactly.
No. And but see, I didn't. It goes beyond being funny. So you literally have establishment people. They're so dialed in on what they want that they're willing now to ignore all of these very clear signs that Joe Biden is slipping in a really big way, in a huge way. And they did the same thing with Hillary Clinton, if you recall, when there was something obviously wrong with her physically, and they just ignored it and they pushed through. And so I think that they're doing this with Joe Biden, and I think it's going to be a big mistake because if he becomes a nominee, you're going to see it on the stage in the debates with Donald Trump.
Oh, well, I can't even imagine what a debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump is going to be like. That's just going to be comical, right? Because you're going to have a guy that's like completely in and out of it, right? In Joe Biden, and then you're going to have Donald Trump who doesn't know anything anyway. So what kind of, I can't even imagine that debate. Right? Like, what would it be? It would not be intellectual, and it would not be informative. It'd be somewhat comical. It's going to actually just end up being a nasty shots at each other. Right? That's all they could possibly do. Neither one of them are going to talk comprehensively about any issue. Right? They're only going to shoot digs at each other. So, if anything, I would say, well, let's get, well, you know me, I'm going to say I want Cory Booker to be Joe Biden's vice president if it's going to go that route, unfortunately. So I would say it like that, and then say, well, let's hope we got Cory Booker for a vice president. Maybe one day he'll get to take over because Joe Biden will have to sit down. That's it. So I'm going to sit back and listen.
All right. Well, the Cory Booker thing threw me. I don't understand that. You know, I at this point, I'm so disenchanted. I mean, outside of the hard work that I see the folks doing on the progressive side, I literally don't see any change that is going to occur if the establishment wing of the party wins the election. Diane, are you still there? I think Diane has gone. So I think there were a couple other things that I wanted to touch on today. If I can pull them up, bear with me for 1 second, guys. I can't get through my. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a commercial break, and I'm gonna try to get to the rest of the news, and then we'll discuss it. Let's get to.
Sounds good.
Do you have loss prevention or safety concerns?
I'm just.
Black Belt Security and Investigations has armed and unarmed guards that can protect what is important to you. For security you can count on, visit www.bbsillc.com or call 1-800-493-1859 today.
It's time to turn up the heat in your house or apartment. So here are some fire safety tips from Diane L. Murray Insurance Agency to keep you warm and safe this winter. Don't overload your electrical outlets. Keep flammable items away from fireplaces and space heaters. And put a fresh battery in your smoke detector. Turn to Diane L. Murray Insurance Agency for your home and renter's insurance or bundle it with your auto insurance and save. Call 908-686-4609 or visit dlminsurance.com today.
BBSI. BBSILLC.com.
Was trying to find the other news story, but I can't locate it on my page. I'm at a loss. Anyway, is there anything? Hey, Diane, I don't know if you're on or if you had to take a call.
Yep, I'm here.
Is there anything in the thread that I need to address? I did try to look at some of the stuff, but the only comment that I saw was from Cesare, and I hope I adequately addressed that one.
Give me a second and let me check. You know what I don't know if you talked, you didn't, was today's Tuesday, right? So you didn't talk about it yesterday. I'm not sure you talked about it the other day. But I've been watching Dwayne Wade and his wife and their daughter, or his daughter, who is his son, who's now a daughter, about how it seems that he's doing these press releases, press conferences, about his son wanting, now addressing himself as a daughter and how he sees himself. And it's a bit concerning as to why they would be, I don't know, flaunting this for a child through the media instead of letting him just do what he does on the back end. I don't understand why they're pushing him out there to be, I don't know. What do you think? Have you been watching it?
Why are they pushing his son out there?
Yes.
Well, it's not his, you mean his daughter?
His daughter, yeah.
Well, I mean, when you say pushing her out there, I mean, what do you...
I mean, purposely having press conferences, personally going out to different events and acknowledging that this is what's happening, and this is how she now wants to be addressed. I think that's a little bit much for a kid, and I'm trying to rationalize to see. I understand parents and their support and support of a child and however they figure their way through life, but to be pushing them out there into the public, as they've been doing with these.
So here's something, right? The attempted suicide rate, or the suicide rate, or the rate of depression for transgenders is extremely high. Young people don't have role models. I'm talking about young trans, don't have a lot of role models. And so maybe, and I haven't had a conversation with Dwayne or with his daughter, but maybe she views herself as a role model or a vehicle through which younger, vulnerable, trans folks who don't have a voice could identify. And so maybe, she feels the need. Maybe it's not them putting her out there. Maybe it's her expressing to her parents, I need to be out here because me experiencing this, but having you as a supportive dad and a platform like this to be able to speak about these things might help some other folks who don't have a platform who don't have supportive folks in their families to speak about it. So, I mean, that's the only thing that I can imagine. But I don't, it's a heavy lift for sure for a kid. I mean, what is she, 12? I think she's 12 years old, right? Mm-hmm. So that is that is a heavy lift. But
And the reason why I think it concerns me is because, for one, there are always people that say, well, you promote stuff and this is what people look towards and this is what kids will do because they see it. But I don't believe that to be true in all things. But also, if you're trying to promote support or support mental health and, making decisions and choices and stuff like that, then that should be the thing that you're talking about, not the fact that the child has made a decision and now wants to be something other than what they were born as. I don't think that is what they're trying to that's what they're promoting, as opposed to promoting the mental health and the support of a child and family support and all of this. Because with all of this that he's doing, the father and his wife Gabrielle Union, not once has this child's mother come out and been able to vocally say whether she's against this child coming out publicly and doing this. Because once you stick a child out there the way they're doing it, there's no holds bar on what people in the public are going to say.
Oh,
Whether
sure.
it's good or bad or indifferent.
I don't disagree with that. But the thing is this.
So if you're trying to protect your child, why would you push your child out into this public arena?
But what I'm saying is maybe
that she doesn't have to be in.
But what I'm saying is maybe they're not pushing her out there. Maybe she's saying, I want to be out there. And I do agree with you that, the public scrutinizes. But again, think about all of the people who are experiencing the same thing that this young lady, right, is experiencing, but they don't have the support of a parent like Dwayne Wade, who has the influence and has access to the media the way that he does, and and could be such an exemplary figure. So now she says, well, you know what? We have this platform, right? I have a voice now. I want to use it and try to encourage other people that it's okay to be who you are. Look, I don't. Look, I mean, as long as, and I think as long as he, and his wife stand with, her, I think that it'll be okay. I really do. And this, Diane, as long as they're not pushing her. You see what I'm saying? If they're pushing her, then I agree with you. But if she is taking the lead on this, and if she is in touch with herself and with what her limitations are in being able to handle this kind of pressure, and if she's in constant consult with her parents, and I believe, too, that she needs to be in constant conversations with, a professional, right?
Okay. So as an 11 or 12-year-old, how many 11 and 12-year-olds wanted to be Superwoman or the Hulk when they were kids? I mean, at some point, there has to be parental guidance when you have to say, okay, your choices, your decisions is one thing, but to publicly allow you to come out to be scrutinized by the public can be more harmful than not. I was watching a YouTube video, and I'm trying to pull it up so I can get the woman's name right. Is a YouTube makeup artist, young YouTube makeup artist, and she's been doing YouTube for many years. White woman who was outed, or rather was blackmailed, and she was forced to come out at the beginning of the year. Because what she was saying was she was getting threats from behind the scenes that people said that they were going to out her and let people know that she was really a man. And she ended up coming out on her own in January after all of this, the barrage of people trying to, monetarily gain from her, decided that she was going to come out for herself. And she did a video, probably no more than 15 minutes, 20-minute video, talking about who she was, how she was supported by her mom when she decided that she was that she wanted to be a woman. And Nikki Tutorials, that's her name. That's the moniker that she goes under, Nikki Tutorials. And all she does is makeup, and she says she decided that what she does was not going to harm the love that she had for makeup and fashion, and that she had a fiance, and he's the guy, and they were even threatening to say, we're going to tell him, we're going to let him know that he doesn't know that she had this transition. And again, then there was a show, and I want to say Love Goals is the name of the show. And there was a couple on there that met, and it's a show where people date behind a screen. You never see them. You don't know what they look like. All you know is their name. And you date for a period of time, and then after 7 days or whatever the time period is, then they meet, and then they go off to get married.
I mean, how do you date without meeting somebody?
Well, you're meeting via the screen. You're in separate rooms, so you can't see each other. That's what I mean. So they're having conversations. Okay. They're learning about each other, but they're not seeing each other. So in this particular, this is the first season of it. I believe the name of it is Love Goals. It's on, I watched it on Netflix, so I'm not sure what else is on. But there was a black guy in Atlanta who happened to connect with a young black girl. They were going to get married. They met. They were at the resort where they were, meeting. They met up, and come to find out, he said that he was bisexual. But he had never said this prior in the interviewing process, and she was very upset. And then after she spoke with him to try and get answers from him, he was very distant and angry with her, like, how dare you ask me these questions? How dare all of these things? And there are many people out there who are deceiving people and not telling who they really are. And then there are people saying that I'm fluid. So I go either way. I'm doing whatever, but I'm only with a guy once in a while, so I'm not gay. But
I think,
you want to,
I think,
woman, there's a lot of stuff. So all of this is like, it's a lot for the traditional, I would say traditional with air quotes, heterosexual person out there trying to date somebody who's the same goals and like the same things that they like, to be with them. You know what I'm saying, Eric?
Yeah. I think Diane, I'm listening to you, and I think I walked upstairs, and Amina had that on, and there was the guy. There was one episode where, if this is the same thing, where the two of them were having a conversation. I think it was poolside. And,
yes, that was it.
And then he said that he had something to tell her.
Yes.
That was the show? Okay, so yeah, I forgot what I was doing. I was getting dressed to do something, and I walked by and the television, and that was going on, and Amina had this look on her face, so I looked at the television screen, and I saw all of that drama unfold.
Just angry. It's annoying, and it bothers me, because I have a young daughter and a young son out there dating, and the questions that I would have asked before when I was dating is, are you dating somebody else? You got a girlfriend? You got do you have a wife or something like that? Has now gone way past that to the real sensitive question of, have you ever had sex with the same sex? Because I need to know.
Well, you know what though? But here's what I'm going to say about that. I think that I think it's not so much about what you say. It's also about what you don't say, right? What you conceal. Everybody knows the time that we live in. And I think that it's not enough for you just not to. So if I said to you, have you, ever had sex with anybody, or had sex before? I think if you're a person who is bisexual and you've had, sexual relations with somebody of same sex, that it is imperative for you to reveal that information. I don't think that we've, I think that, to normalize the behavior, to say that it is fine, right, is one thing, but for you to normalize it in a way where you don't believe you have to divulge it, I think we're not there yet, right? So,
and that's a problem, because let's go back a year and a half when we talked about this on the show, about them changing birth certificates and people being allowed to change the birth certificate to represent who they are, not what they were born as. That is going to be a problem with people not disclosing and being truthful with people. You have to, I'm saying, when you sit down with me and you a dude, the first conversation we need to be talking about in that conversation before we get up is, have you been sleeping with somebody of the same sex? Because that is important. Don't get me emotionally connected, or having you emotionally connected, if you're not being honest from the beginning. Because for some people, it may not matter. But for other people, it is a big deal.
I think that it's here's the thing. I think that it should be a big deal for you as the person, right? So, not just a big deal for the person who is asking the question, but if that's you, if that is you, then it should be a big deal for you, right? So, yes, I've been married before. Yes, I love them. I love men and women. Yes, I've slept with men and women. That's who I am, and to conceal that speaks volumes for the character of that person. Caller, go.
Hey, sorry, this is Mark. I just called back. I I don't know if you guys know, but I was just told that Newark might have their first case of this coronavirus. Somebody down at the health department that supposedly has walked in claiming it or has it or to that effect. So I just was letting that know. I don't know 100% true. Like I said, I didn't get it from like a government source, but I was just told while
I'm not coming to Newark.
Again?
Farrakhan, I need you to come cut my hair here in the studio.
But understand, I told you, that was part of what I actually ended up, I bought another 5 gallons. I was literally in the store buying another 5 gallons worth of bleach. My sanitation protocol for this month is ridiculous. It's like a 10-minute wait in between each customer, where everything has to be sanitized down. So you'll be straight when you come to
does that mean you let me come in here and do some stuff in that shop?
Oh, you want to come and help me with everything that I got to do? You are now more than welcome. I'm putting you to work.
I get to come and rearrange some stuff up in there.
Yes, man, I'm putting you to work. Come on, you talking about the snack. Come on.
Well, listen, on a serious side, look, I am convinced that this thing is not going away. It is going to. I believe it's far worse than anybody is letting on. And we've already concluded that the reason they're not letting on how bad it is because they're trying to protect financial interests. And look, people's 401ks are being affected right now. People's retirements are being impacted as we speak. This is serious, guys. And so, whoever that person is, if it is true, I hope that they're okay. And then all of the people who they've been in contact with. But now, if this is the case, here we go. What's the level of insurance that people have? Can they go get tested? Can they go, get checked out? Can they get medical care? How does that impact them in terms of work? How does it impact them in terms of being able to pay their bills? All of this is going to come cascading down on everybody, but specifically black people. Black people.
Absolutely.
So thanks for that update.
Listen, guys, I'm on my way to the shop.
No problem.
Thanks for the update, Farrakhan. So Diane, back to this thing. I mean, I just think that the
honesty and disclosure is
honesty is important. Honesty is important, right? I mean, it's not so much a changing of a name on a birth certificate and all that kind of stuff, because you could, even if you didn't have those things, somebody could still not be honest, right?
No, it's not changing of the name. It's changing of the sex.
No, I'm sorry. That's what I meant. Changing of the sex on the birth certificate. Okay. Because nobody's asking to see, nobody's asking me to see my birth certificate, right?
No. Unless you're getting married, you have to prove it. See, you have to show it then.
So let me ask you this question. This is very interesting because I think we talked about this before in the show. Is the birth certificate, does it indicate that it has been changed?
No, that's the whole thing. It does not. It does not say modified or anything like that. It's a reissuance of the birth certificate. That was the whole discussion. And I said, I don't have a problem if you're going to change the birth certificate and you're going to quantify that the original birth certificate, the sex was born as of X, Y, and Z. But that's not what they're doing. They're changing it as of, and I'm believing the date is going to be as of the date that you're changing. But, and that's only an issuance date. That doesn't mean that was the original date, because if you go get your birth certificate now, they'll issue you a new birth certificate, and at the bottom it'll say issue date. That's it. So that's the problem that I've had initially with that to begin with, is you change the sex on your birth certificate, then you change the sex on your driver's license, then you get pulled over, or the incident with the woman that was in Florida that was coming back for a baby shower into the country, into Florida and Miami, and got sent to the men's prison when she's legitimately a woman and has always been a woman. And her ID said she's a woman. So So now you got all of these different institutions that you have to now deal with things differently. So you go into the medical facility, the medical applications, when you fill out and you sit down to update your information, health records with the insurance company, it doesn't say were you formerly a man or a woman. It doesn't say that. It just circle if you're a man or female. That's all it says. You go online and you fill out applications and stuff for loans. You fill out applications for your health insurance online when you do the insurance. Female or male is the only option. It doesn't say what you were before, what you are now.
Well, that's a problem.
The changes of the birth certificate, as the health goes along with that. That's a big health change, medical change. So you tell me.
Yeah, well, I think that's a huge issue.
It is. It's a huge issue, and only a few states have addressed it and agreed to changing the birth certificates. But federally, they have not addressed it, so everybody is on the same page. And see, that's the same thing when you talk about this health issue again. Each state, each county, city is working independently. Nobody is on the same page as to how to contain it, how to quarantine. Or they're saying, quarantine yourself for 14 days. Okay, so if you quarantine yourself for 14 days and then you come out on day 15 and you still got it, now what?
Well, but with the medical, so
it's a lot. Yeah,
it is a lot. It is a lot. I mean, the most you can do, you can work with the information that you have, right? So the information that we have is that the incubation is 14 days, and so if you quarantine yourself, you can limit the not eliminate the chance, but limit the chance, right? And so that's what people are being asked to do what they can to limit the possibility of spreading it. And so by self-quarantining and by waiting 14 days, you've cut the chances down significantly that you are now a carrier of it and can expose other people. So, I mean, I don't know beyond that what more folks can do. I did read.
Yeah.
Listen, I did just read. Somebody said, "Hey, get a grip." It's not the end of the world. I don't think it's the end of the world, but I do think that there is reason to be concerned, right? So when somebody posts on their page, get a grip. I'm not exactly sure what that means. I don't think that is a responsible thing. Hey, Diane.
Yeah.
And I posted this on my page. There's an organization. Oh, I'm feeling lightheaded. I told you I got my orange juice in here. No, I drank it all. I don't have any more.
Any peppermints? I gave you a handful.
You did give me a handful of peppermints, and they're in my other pants pocket.
Lord, you need.
Listen. Look. I do the best I can with what I got. It says African American. Got to blow this up. I told you my eyes are going too. African American Chamber of Commerce, New Jersey, State of Black New Jersey 2020 Economic Summit. Why do they need to have an economic summit on the State of Black New Jersey?
Because that's the way of for them to derail and delay anything that could possibly or potentially come out of it that would be useful and productive.
So you've got it says opening remarks by John E. Harmon Sr., founder and president and CEO of African American Chamber of Commerce, right? And then you've got conference speaker Bishop, I don't even know, I can't read this name, from Bethany Baptist Church. Then you've got welcoming remarks by somebody from Mercer Community College. Then you've got opening remarks by Brian, somebody from the community college. Then you've got Derek Green, who is the senior advisor to Governor Phil Murphy. Reverend Derek Green, I'm sorry. And then you've got a host of panelists, and including, I think this is Assemblyman Jamel Holly and State Senator Ron Rice And
Okay,
then
so in reference to this, what is the purpose of the meeting? To do what?
Diane, so the headline of this thing is the state of Black New Jersey. So look, we don't need to have a summit, right? Like I really don't think so. And then what I put in my head. Go ahead.
Let's put it this way: in order to make change, you do first have to convene and have a meeting to discuss what the issues are, because we talk about it many times. We are not monolithic. Everybody doesn't see things the same way. Everybody's issues is not foremost in their head. So there should be a meeting to discuss what the concerns and issues are. There should, in that same meeting, there should be a meeting about how to decide which is top priority, which is not top priority, to break up into groups and decide who's going to do what and start hitting the ground running. Now, to have a summit and a meeting just to discuss that we Black people and we got issues, we know that. So when you come into the door, you should be coming with some type of solutions as to saying, for instance, I'm the mayor so-and-so, and I have this many supporters, and I can get out this information, and we can push this forward. That's saying come to the table with solutions, as opposed to sitting in a meeting, listening to people talk about what the system is doing to us, what we're doing to ourselves, and what we're not doing. So to have those people in the room is a great thing, because they are people who make decisions on different levels throughout the city and state. But are they coming to the table with concrete solutions, saying, I'm leaving here, I'm talking to X, Y, and Z, we're putting this plan in place, and this is how it's going to work? Or are they simply talking so that they can ease the tensions of Black people pushing on them, saying you're not doing enough for us because election time is coming up, and they need to get out there in the forefront and make it look like they're trying to do something when all the other 3.5 years of their term they're doing nothing. So it's a win-lose type situation, only if they're going in to benefit themselves or if they're going in to benefit the people and really get stuff done.
Well, look,
and that's the thing.
Diane, I continue to say, if we don't have economic or political power, there will be no transformative change. And so when you say, what is the state of Black New Jersey, right? Mm-hmm. We do not have economic and political power. What is the state of Black New Jersey? We have 1/10 the wealth in Black homes as exists in white homes. What is the state of Black New Jersey? Our children are underperforming in school. What is the state of Black New Jersey? You have more segregation in the schools in New Jersey than anywhere else. What is the state of Black New Jersey? Black folks are earning less than their white counterparts, even Absolutely. If Blacks have a college degree and their white counterparts have a high school diploma. What is the state of Black New Jersey? I mean, I can keep going down it. That is the state of Black New Jersey. So now I don't want to know what the state is. I already know. We already know the condition. What's the solution? Now, and what I'll say to you is this, Diane, most of those people, if not all of them, who are on these panels, cape for the system that is oppressing us. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? None of these people, so right now, if they want to talk about what the state of Black New Jersey is, I'm asking them, who are you supporting in these down ballot elections, right, that are speaking to all of the issues that you're going to talk about at this summit? See, we could end the conversation right there. See, because now you say, here are all the panelists, here are all of the people. Here's the Reverend, the Right Reverend, the Dr. Right Reverend, all these, right, all these people. Who are you supporting, right, that is focused on helping us fight for economic and political power? And then which slave catchers and Negro whisperers are you willing to call out? Now, once you answer those questions, then I know where we are. But it's a 5-minute conversation. You don't need to have a whole summit. Because once we identify who the slave whisperers are, slave catchers are, And the Negro Whisperers are, then we know what our next goal is. It's to kick them off the island, right? And to move in the opposite direction that they're moving in. And then to fight for economic and political power. That is it.
Well, let me tell you. So one of the things, the biggest issue with the summit is some of the people that are on the summit that you have listed are part of the problem. So I remember Darren Martin did, what was it, a State of Blackness or...
in Jersey City.
In Jersey City, yes. I'm not sure if that's the exact name, but that's kind of what it was. Where he invited particular people, especially people from the community, residents, everyone to come out to talk about specifically stuff like this and to make plans and solutions to create solutions. I think what needs to be done is people on the lower levels of residents need to start working together in clusters and start putting together their plan as to what they see for themselves, whether it's a cluster of Black people, a cluster of Hispanics, a cluster of Mexicans, a cluster of Jewish people, a cluster of Catholics, whoever. Put those clusters together and start working specifically towards your individual issue and start pushing your local council people, state senators, and congressmen to do what you want. Stop allowing them to create summits to talk about you to do nothing. You create your own summits, you invite them there, and you tell them this is what we want you to do. This is what we expect you to do, and stop accepting the stuff that they give out and dish out to you. That's the problem. We have to turn this around. It should not be community meetings given by the council or elected people or the mayor. It should be community meetings that are run by the community.
No, I agree. When Darren told me that, he said, listen, we held this event. He said, Eric, and I hand-delivered to all of the elected officials an invitation to attend. He said, and none of them showed up. Mm-hmm. None of them, right?
They're scared because they don't have answers. They don't want to be called out on the carpet. But that's okay, because now we know who you are. Now we know who you are personally, even more than we knew before. So we know upcoming elections, whether it's just the district leader election, if you are standing behind a candidate, if you are the candidate, we know we're voting against you and we're putting somebody up against your person. And that's how the community has to start acting. That's how they did in the Black churches. And we have lost that. We have lost that because people have become scared. They have reverted back into accepting whatever has been given to them and being happy with that. And that's not good enough, because good enough is not helping us. It is still killing us off. It's still killing us off. Everything that happens every day potentially puts us lower and lower and lower at the bottom of the totem pole. And we will disappear. So you talk about the coronavirus, and people talk about, oh, the coronavirus was created in the lab. Yeah, it very well could have been, as many other viruses and diseases are. But the one thing that it has not done is it's not eliminating the people they thought it was going to eliminate. It's not eliminating the Black people. Thank God. But on the other side, it's eliminating other people vicariously just because they have been in contact with somebody else. So people have to pay attention. All of these things are interconnected. You talk about the stock market. You talk about Farrakhan is out buying bleach so he could clean his products properly. How many other barbers and beauticians are doing that, or even thinking that far in advance to make sure that they don't have any outbreak at their location? You know, those are things that people should be thinking about. All of these summits and telling me about my Blackness. I've been Black since the day I was born. It's not going to change. When I die and I'm put into the earth, I will still be a Black woman. But that's not going to change the state of my financial, economic future if the community does not work together to make the elected people do what you want them to do. Not what they want to do, but what you want them to do. I said everybody get together and stop paying taxes. I think we all revolt back and just not do it. Put all the tax money into an escrow account until these people are put out. Because what's happening is they're misusing money. How many times all over the state and the country you hear about politicians going to jail for mishandling money?
So you telling people not to pay taxes now?
Huh?
I'm not going to tell people not to pay taxes. I'm not going, because I'm not bailing anybody out.
I said take the money and put it in an escrow account. I said don't pay them and put it in an escrow account and fight the city. That's what I said. You missed that sentence right before. It went so fast.
I'm sorry. That went over my head. I heard you say, don't pay taxes. I'm not. So, Diane, have you been watching? And we got a couple minutes, but they're starting to show up now, in very quiet ways in my Facebook feed. Folks who are now running for the Board of Education. I haven't seen anybody in Irvington or anywhere else. But I have seen a couple people who have announced that they're running for the Board of Education in Newark. And again, I just, it's sad. I really don't know what to say. There is no plan. So again, what is the state of black? And Kevin always said it, just like dig a ditch and die. I don't get it. I'm sorry. I was just distracted because it literally popped up in my Facebook feed.
Yeah. Well, again, that goes back to the pain of a person. Sometimes people are so overwhelmed with everyday living and trying to survive that the things that are happening on the school board, even though they're affected, they don't have the mental energy to deal with. And that is just the case of it for many people. Many people get wiped out daily by day-to-day problems, and they just can't fathom and or take on one more issue fighting for the school board. If you notice, there are on the ground in various communities, there are people, staples in the community that will always fight the school board, that will always be at the school board meetings, that will always fight the council, always have something to say about what's going on in town, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. They are the diehards. And then there are other people that want to fight and just don't have the energy to fight. Then there are people who just don't know what to do. They're scared to step out to do anything. So I think Newark, again, has, has put people in such a pit of despair that many of them do not want to participate, vote, or interact with the school board or any other elected position to vote for it or to care about it, because they're sick of hearing about it, because they don't want to hear about the fight. They just want people to honestly get in and do the right thing.
Yeah.
They really do. Just do the right thing. And unfortunately, criminals understand how politics works, so they can sweet talk their way into it a lot of times. So this is why we get what we get, because we have criminal-minded people in offices who are never going to do what's right because they're only there for their own personal gain.
Well, listen, the last thing I want to say is this, and we're about to close out. I found out, I'm going to start focusing more on what's going on these local races, because the council races and the Board of Education races in these urban communities in Essex County are important, right? We talked about, having to deal with these issues at home. But I found out yesterday that, at least in Irvington, it may be a case other places too, but in Irvington, if you want to hang posters on poles and things like that, and I'm against that anyway, because in communities like Maplewood and Livingston, you don't see that nonsense.
Right.
But there's a $2,500 bond you have to take out in Irvington in order to do that.
Well, first of all, I think that's disgusting that you would allow your city to be plastered with graffiti, because that's all it is paid political graffiti, because it devalues your community and your property values, and it doesn't look good. If you want to run for election, the typical lawn sign, and they steal them, put them in the windows of people's homes, literature, spend the money on that. But for the township to try and profit off of littering the township is not a good idea, because I'm sure the $2,500 bond is going towards the cleanup of it. There should not be a cleanup, because it should not be happening.
Well, Diane, thanks for tuning in. We're calling in. You guys, thanks for tuning in. I'm going to be watching the election results today and eating my Girl Scout cookies.
That's right. Go lay down, drink some orange juice.
Talk to you all later. Thanks for tuning in. Hit the share button.
Bye.